test. I've not even finished my intro, but I don't know why you're celebrating already.
Final
It's
day
just one Anyway, this is where the score stands. In fact, the test is over. South Africa 159. India got a 30-run lead. South Africa, thanks to some outstanding batting from one man, Temba Bavuma, in the third innings, managed to get 153. India was set 123 and they lost by 30 runs. Sum it up better than me, I'm sure. Please go ahead.
No, I think just brilliant from the South Africans. We talk about cricket and it's always about unknown, and they obviously came out with I think the key for me today was India allowed them to get too many runs once they went back onto the field of play. That partnership between Bosch and Temba Bavuma, they should have been really focused on making sure there was nothing for free.
I'll stop you there for a second, Polly. What do you think they did wrong, actually?
I think just the intensity. The intensity the night before seemed to be there. They seemed to be in a zone, and they kind of walked out there almost. I got the feeling, and maybe I'm wrong, but they got the feeling that they were kind of expecting it to happen. Expecting it to happen, that a couple of deliveries are going to happen, and we're going to get a wicket, and it didn't. Temba was great once again. I thought the way he applied himself with his defense and his attacking abilities. But we talked last night, didn't we? When I said 125 to 150, all of a sudden is going to be some sort of contest.
And how big a win is this? First time after 2010, you'll are winning a test match here. 15 years you'll have had to wait. But what a win, actually. Defending a low score gives you a different sort of feeling.
Yeah, it's huge because I can remember also I did a test series in Bangladesh, and I think that was our first victory in something like 10 years. First test victory, no, test match victory in a subcontinent in a massive period of time. So for us to have bounced back and gone and drawn the series in Pakistan, everyone said when this World Test Championship started for South Africa, it's going to be hard this time around because they have three series in the subcontinent. They got Pakistan, India, and Sri Lanka, all spin for India. They're going to have to find a way. Well, anyway, they've found a way. They've managed to beat Pakistan in the second test, and now they've won the first, so they can't lose the series. It's at worst, it can be a drawn series.
Now, before we get into other things, Kolkata is a piece of work.
Oh,
He and I were on air. Who was batting? Dhruv Jurel and Washington. Just stitching together a nice little partnership. I can even tell you the score. It was 32 for 2. I don't know what he thought it was. He said, DK, this over, there's going to be a single and then a wicket will fall. I just looked at him
and I said it's going to be 33 for 3. And he said, I'll tell you exactly what he said. He said to me, Polly, you don't even have this feeling. You're just saying something. So I said, no, I've got the feeling there's going to be wicket and it's going to be 33 for 3. Carry on.
And then 4 balls, beautifully Washington Sundar defended. I was just hoping he'll take another couple of balls to defend. Don't know what happened. He took a single. And then he just tapped me, Pauline, wicket's coming. And I said it's going to be a dead defense. A short ball from Simon Harmer. I cannot believe he towed it straight out to deep mid-wicket. It was heartbreaking, but
the look on DK's face was something like
it's just anyway. But like how, I don't know, Simon Harmer listened to Shaun Pollock when he was doing commentary. It was Bavuma's turn to listen to what Shaun Pollock had to say, which is try and get to 120 to 150. You never know. And the main man to do it, the way he batted today, I genuinely have a lot of time for this man.
I think it's a great lesson. I mean, that post 153, he gets 50 odd of that. So basically a third of the runs that accumulated. He didn't think that was going to be enough. It was like, okay, it's in the balance. But if he hadn't done that, South Africa would have had no chance. And I think the two spinners, we also touched on the fact that they were the most accurate two that we've brought to India from a perspective of they can hit a good area consistently. And they showed their value today.
We can speak about Bauma's innings. Probably it is not about technique. It was about application. He had a good game plan, defending front foot balls, practice front foot defense, and then the odd boundary, he would take a chance, mostly outside off stump, and that was his plan. But the one little technical change that he did is in the first innings, he was going with his initial movement, he went across and then played around one to Kuldeep behind to backward shot. Like this time, he didn't go across as much, went slightly straighter towards leg stump or the off stump of the runner's end, and that enabled him to play quite nicely. But that is just a technical change more than anything else. It was his willingness to fight it out there, be determined as a leader, to show what it takes to the rest of the dressing room to try and get to a score which could be defendable, and they ended up doing. But to defend it, they needed early wickets. And there's one matchup that is slowly but steadily starting to creep up above the surface. Left arm pacers to Yashasvi Jaiswal.
When you're a left arm seamer, then what happens is they're probably getting tighter onto his stumps and making it more difficult for him to deal with. When it's a right arm bowler going around the wicket, then obviously on that angle, it creates quite an extended angle. But a left arm, I can get nice and tight to the stump. So I think that might be the issue that he's struggling with. But you don't get away with it in this international level. If you've got a problem with left arm seamers, I can guarantee you that when the opportunity presents itself, teams will pick the left arm seamer and ask him questions from now on, because it's been 6 innings now against South Africa where he's got out 5 times to a left arm seamer. Andre Berger was the man, the guilty party in Centurion and Cape Town, and now in Calcutta, Marco Jansen. And there's no scores to write home about. There's that quick start he got for 28 of 23 at Cape Town in that second innings. But besides that, there's been nothing to write home about. So, yeah, South Africa will make him aware of that when he walks to the crease in Guwahati.
In all fairness, watching his career quite closely, Polly, every time he's travelled abroad, the first test match he's got 100, beat England, West Indies, Australia. All these are tough venues, but South Africa, he didn't get 100. And I think so far, South Africa has been his Achilles heel. And if you look at it even further closely, you can see the left-armers have troubled him. It's an area that he will work in, knowing his talent. I'm sure he'll come across it.
Yeah, I mean, all great batters can struggle. I mean, you took of Joe Root. I mean, how good he's been around the world, but just he's got that issue when he goes to Australia, hasn't been able to get 100, only averages 30 odd when he tours there. And that's the kind of thing also plays on your mind. So technically, yes, there might be an issue, but mentally it starts to become a bit of an ogre in your head. And that's something Jaiswal's going to have to deal with.
And well, for Jaiswal, it was Jansen and Rahul got a scorcher as well. But the rest of them, most of them capitulated to spin. Dhruv Jurel in particular, soft shot along with Rishabh Pant. Two soft shots in a space of very little time, in a space of 5 overs with very little runs scored as well. They're hardly getting runs in about four to 5 overs in between Jurel and Pant. They've just got the 5 runs. But what I want to speak about is one, Washington Sundar, who batted so well at number 3. He batted the most number of balls across both innings for the first timer who's batted at number 3 in this test match. So he is showing application for India. I think that is a big tick mark for India.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the right word, application. I think he'll still work out his game plan at number 3 there, how he wants to pace his innings, when he wants to be a positive or aggressive. But as far as the fact that he's shown application means he deserves a run. So you keep him in that position, give him another 4 or 5 test matches, see how he goes. And if things don't pan out that well, then you can look to maybe make a change. I know he's looked at as an all-rounder. I think he still would be someone who you'd pick on international conditions, like if you go to Australia or South Africa, maybe as your second spinner to be able to do a job. So that helps him. I mean, I always felt like he was underutilized. I know Murali Kartik was saying, he's only bowled 1 or 2 overs in the match. Maybe we need to have a look at him, particularly when you saw someone like Aidan Markram come on for 2 or 3 overs and have an impact. They probably could have had a look at him a bit more. But as far as just the batting goes, which we're going to judge him on in this match, application, perfect. Nothing wrong with that. And I look forward to seeing how his game progresses. Because as international batter, you don't work it out straight away. You have to adjust as you go along. So he'll work out more about how maybe being a bit positive and his scoring options as he goes along.
When I look at Washington Sundar, he's got 60 runs in this game, 29 of 82 in the first innings, 31 of 92 in the second innings. For me, where is Washington Sundar, the test player, being looked at? Is he a bowler who can bat? Now, if you're sending him at number 3, then you almost are telling him you need to focus a lot more on your batting. The moment you start spending extra time batting at number 3 and batting those long hours in practice, you tend to reduce your practice for bowling because it is physically impossible to be good at both. If you're sending him at number 3, the message is very, very straightforward. We are looking at big runs from you. We trust your technique. We really like you, the batter. So this eventually could affect his bowling in the long run. It is a very tricky one, even for Washington Sundar personally. Because if you look, for example, through the years, if you think of Ravi Shastri, he started as a bowler who could bat. Once he went up and started opening and batted at number 3, his bowling slowly but steadily started to dip a little bit. In his own words, he said that he couldn't practice as much. And the same thing is going to happen with Washington Sundar. And today, as we speak, he's part of all 3 formats. So that is going to be a big one for him. Where does he see himself doing well? He's going to say, I'll do whatever the Indian team asks me. But is he in Test cricket a bowler who can bat or a batter who can bowl? That is a question probably the team setup need to ask him because accordingly he needs to put in the work. But the one person that South Africa found a massive success is the man of the match, Simon Harmer, a man who's picked up 27 5 wickets for Essex in the limited time that he's played for England. Today, 8 wickets, 3 catches, and easily the best bowler among both teams in terms of how he used the surface.
Yeah, just his control, his variation of pace. Every time he got the ball, he was asking those questions. As you could see the fizz, you could see the bounce, you could see the turn. Everything was there in the control. He didn't offer up many bad deliveries. I think it was 10 overs in when he gave away his first boundary. So it has been a real find for South Africa again. Just refreshing the memory. 2015 he came. He got 2 4 wicket hauls, but they weren't the best performances. Went away, didn't play for about 6 or 7 years, then came back to South Africa, played against Bangladesh, did well with Kesha Maharaj in Durban and PE. And had a few decent performances after that, but then kind of was discarded, and everyone thought, well, that's the end of him. He's come and done a little bit of a job. And they had chat not so long ago with him, and they said to him, come on, let's get you back in the mix. And he's come to the subcontinent, done well in Pakistan, and now done well in India. So, yeah, respect. He's definitely learned his game. When he came here 10 years ago, he probably didn't understand what was required, and it was probably his first trip to the subcontinent where he had to perform. But now he understands, and he's got the control to go with that understanding.
Yeah, he made things really hard for India because India were chasing a low total, 123. That's all they were chasing, 124 to be precise. They got bundled out for 93. Now, if you look at that scorecard, obviously you're not going to see any great scores. Akshar Patel made a quick fire 26. Washington Sundar got a really steady, hard-working 31. Nothing to speak about in between and above all of that. Where did India actually go wrong? Is it the bowling this morning? Is it the batting?
No, I think for me, the two I was worried about was Punt and Jadeja. I think on that surface, I think the mindset had to be where can we score from time to time? How can we look to be positive? I thought the intensity of the match went through the roof when Jadeja got to the crease. The crowd got involved. The running between the wickets was superb. Punt probably wasn't there long enough. But yeah, I just think where are those batters, the old Indian batters, who on certain conditions, even though it's difficult, find a way of dominating. You think of someone like VVS Laxman when he played that innings here against Australia. It was difficult, but he found a way to whack the ball out the rough and to score off the back foot and still be aggressive and accumulate runs. And maybe just that was where they were found wanting a little bit. They're thinking was maybe a bit clouded. But what's happening with his chases now? Last 7 chases, you've lost 5, won 1, and drawn 1. And the one you won was only chasing 124.
121 against West Indies, the target was. We ended up chasing that. I'm not going to give that too much of credit because, in all fairness, that West Indies team is not what the usual West Indies team are from the back 80s and all of that. They're a decent team, but not like you would really be worried trying to chase down a total. Today was obviously an even Stevens game. 120 was going to take a lot of determination, skill, and everything that you require to succeed in Test cricket because it really tests you in all sorts of facets of you as a person. And clearly, India were found wanting. Previous loss that India have had for such a low total is in Bridgetown, long time ago against West Indies when they couldn't chase down a total. 120 was the target. They ended up losing that game. But this game, they've lost by 30 runs. Yes. Now, when we speak about all this, let's not forget Shubman Gill was declared not fit for the rest of the match after he suffered that neck injury. That is a big one. It's not the second innings so much, but the first innings, he could have definitely helped India to a better score.
So in this game, you're looking to put an asterisk now because he didn't get.
I think we should cut
Okay.
some slack for
Okay.
Team India because it was
Okay,
hard.
we'll give you a little asterisk.
I mean, you all are good, but not that good that you'll steamroll us for
Well,
30 runs
if it
chasing down
wasn't your
123.
main batter that they're missing out in the form he's been in, then I would say your tears are going to be left on dry ground. But the fact it is your captain and he's your main player, and okay, we'll give you an asterisk, but it's not getting your test victory back.
Speaking about issues that India have, it's time to get into the hotspot. Now, Polly, let's start at where this test match started. At the start, you have a toss, and before that, you announced 11. In the 11, India had 4 all-rounders. Is that one too many, you think? Because South Africa, on the other hand, backed regular bowlers. In India's case, there was 2 proper batters. Now, Washington Sundar has bowled 1 over across both innings, and they have the likes of Devdutt Padikkal and Sai Sudarshan sitting outside who are bona fide batters. Now, where do you think, or rather, what do you think India have done right or wrong in having 4 all-rounders?
Well, from the outside, it doesn't look like you picked 4 rounders the way it panned out. It just looked like you picked 3 and then Washington Sundar was picked as a batter. So for me, it seems that what they decided was Sai Sudarshan and Padikkal batting wasn't as good as Washington Sundar. So that's what it looks like. So if that is the case, then they only picked the three. But yeah, specialists are specialists for a reason, and particularly in this format, sometimes we get dragged in because of the amount of T20 cricket and one-day cricket that is played. You kind of think anyone who can bowl a few overs or do this or do whatever can be classed as an all-rounder. It's not the case in Test cricket. You need to pick your specialist. I'm not saying Washington Sundar isn't more of a specialist, but I'm just saying the thinking needs to be who is the top six that are going to get me 300 and something runs, and who are the four bowlers that are going to get me my 20 wickets, and you throw your wicket keeper. And if he contributes with the bat, so be it. That's great. And I think that needs to be thinking. So if it was clouded by the fact that they can do bits and pieces, then it is a worry for India. If it was clear cut that he was a better batter than the other two, then I don't have any issue with it.
By the way, pardon me, I said 4 all-rounders, 3 all-rounders, Washington, Jadeja, and Akshar. All 3 are bona fide all-rounders. Now, it's interesting the kind of press conferences that Gautam Gambhir has, because he has come out and said, this pitch had no demons. You needed to apply. It wasn't unplayable as shown by Temba, Washington, and Akshar Patel. The pitch is what we asked for, and the curator was extremely supportive. This was chaseable. Our batters needed to adapt better on this pitch. You ought to be able to play spin. Your thoughts?
When he says the only issue I've actually got is about no demons, I don't agree with that one. I think it was very difficult at times. I think there were certain deliveries that were unplayable. I mean, in the first innings against the faster bowlers, those 3 that Bumrah got, I'm thinking of them offhand. So you've got Markram, you've got Zorzi, and the one to Harmer. There was nothing anyone can do about it. And if you've got a surface where there's nothing you can do about it, then I would suggest that there actually were a few demons. Some of those deliveries in the second innings when you were facing Jadeja, unplayable, really. Some of them. And even Temba Bavuma, I get the point, and I think it's coming more from a point. I think if he looked back, he might take away there weren't that many demons, might have been the word he could have said with regards to no, because there was definitely some that played a part in the wickets falling. But his point is probably going more down the lines of, hey, it's these batters. We need to show more application. We need to show the ability to bat on different surfaces. Temba Bavuma, he got the 50, but he had plenty of times where the ball beat the bat and there was nothing he could do about it. So yeah, I would say there were demons. I would say it was very difficult and you could get an unplayable delivery, which is kind of not what you really want. But I do get his point about the batters. Even though it was difficult, they should have showed better application.
Now that a result like this has taken place,
and we can't lose the series, yeah.
Well, I didn't think of that. But yes, South Africa can't lose the series. What do you think India can't, or rather will do? Because they can lose the series. That is for sure. So do you think there's going to be a bit of harakiri in the 11, or they're going to think differently? What do you think they should be doing, in fact?
Well, the bowling attack shouldn't change, is it? I mean, you got your 20 wickets, so
Correct.
No issue whatsoever. And South Africa didn't get away. What, they got 159 and 153. Bowlers done the job. No issue whatsoever. It comes down to the batters. And then if you go down the route of saying asterisk, Shubman Gill didn't contribute, then if he bats and he gets a 50 or he got 70 runs in the match, no issues. So I don't know if there'll be massive changes. The only issue might be whether you want to go one one bowling option and play the extra batter to strengthen things up. But yeah, besides that, I don't see any other changes. Why would you? The person who probably would have been considered as a possible change was probably the batter who was the pick for India, which was
Correct.
Washington Sundar. So yeah, maybe you go, I don't know, maybe say we don't need the extra spin of Aksa, and we're going to play 2 spinners and 2 fast bowlers, and Washington Sundar is going to play more part, and then we're going to get a bit more batting, and that could be the only change.
But if Akshar is the best batter of this game, and I'm assuming the pitch was, you said Akshar was one of the best batters. He's mentioned Akshar.
Yeah, but I'm saying Washington Sundar. Oh, Akshar, here we go. True. I'm forgetting about the first innings. That's what I've done.
He's batted really well.
So then no need changes.
Yeah.
No changes, same team.
Okay.
Just get your captain.
Enough of India and enough of you praising South Africa. But do you think South Africa needs to think about the 11? For sure, Rabada Smith is going to come in, I'm assuming. So will that make any changes to the 11 there then?
The only thing I would think of is their spot for Deval Brevis. I know he was under an injury cloud, but the fact that he was 12th man tends to suggest that he was fine. So if KG is fit, he would come back in place of Bosch. I think they might strengthen their batting. Either way, I think they'll look for some place where they can maybe just bring...
Tristan Stubbs holds on to his place.
Well, that's the other point of discussion is do they to consider leaving him out
Brevis.
in place of Brevis? He's also a one where it's been a bit of a yo-yo. The last Test match he played in Pakistan, he batted up number three. Now he comes at number six. So that's the interesting one for me. And I always said it when I was back home and involved in chatting about selection. There are certain places like go to South Africa and Australia and England and pick a person to make a debut as an opening batter. Very unfair on them. Very unfair. Come to India or the subcontinent turning wickets and ask a person to state a claim for yourself as a middle order batter. Very unfair because he's going to walk in, the spinners are going to be operating. So I don't think I'd be too judgmental on them because of those are probably the most difficult conditions. A middle order batter on turning wickets when you're inexperienced in the sub, and opening the batting in England, Australia, South Africa when you're inexperienced and you have to deal with the movement and bounce and everything that you deal with. So I don't want to be too judgmental about them, particularly after they've won, but I think they will try and find a place for Eris.
You do have a soft heart and a good mind, which says the batters will really like, because a lot of times you are thrown in the deep end, and you're saying that when you do get thrown in the deep end, give them some time to swim.
Because those two are South Africa's future. I mean, if you be honest, there's going to be times where the other guys will retire, but you would think if we came back in 2035, that Brevis and Stubbs will still be batting for South Africa. So deal with them carefully because I think there's a big future for both.
Lovely. I think that was a great way to look at it. One last thing. How big a win is this, morale-wise, and knowing that if you do win, 2000, I mean, when you were playing, which is about, I don't know, 25 years ago, feels a very long time, and you were a youngster at that stage when you came in, how big would that be?
Yeah, it was huge for us winning that series. We'd come here, we weren't sure how we could compete. We were obviously concerned about our ability to play spin in those days. There was no RPLs, so people didn't get extra exposure on these kind of surfaces. And lots of nets, lots of precautionary measures put in place,
Can you
lots
tell
of
me what to do
practice.
that you have to?
No, I mean we used to go to home. I mean we try and replicate the South African, I mean the Indian conditions. So wire brushes and
Yes.
brooms, trying to make it.
Where did you practice
And
before coming to India?
I think it was in Pretoria.
Pretoria,
We
okay.
got the rubber balls which bounced steeply, and you try and defend them, and you felt like you were useless because it's like try and get my gloves out the way, and it pops off the gloves, and it was we didn't have that much confidence coming in. So for us to maybe turn that one on its turret and to win it 2-0 in the end, India had to go for the victory in the second test because they already 1-0 down. That was huge for us. I mean, at that stage, the biggest victories were obviously to go and win in Australia, to come to the subcontinent and when we beat Pakistan away, we drew a series with Sri Lanka. And then the other big one at those times was going to the West Indies and winning there. That didn't happen all that often with that kind of lineup that they had. And we managed to do that in 2000 as well. So, yeah, those were big times for us. We had a good side and everyone chipped in.
I know you're a busy man, but last couple of things that we need to discuss about. One, the lowest total defended ever at Eden Gardens. I think that's quite an effort. Doesn't happen too often. Like you see, 192 previously being lowest. South Africa was India today, 124.
I'm so glad this graphic came up yesterday because it's lovely to break records. It's just so nice to break records and turn over stereotypes of, well, this isn't enough to defend. And we said it last night. It's this cricket. We love the game of sport because there's no scripts involved. You never know. And just give yourselves a chance, get yourself in the position. And it was the perfect start, wasn't it? They knew Shubman Gill wasn't coming, and you were 2 wickets down in no time. That was all that needed to happen in order to give South Africa a chance. If you had been 40 for one, game over.
True. And now again, you guys are reigning champions. And that WTC table again looks good for you. Second on that list.
Yeah, this would probably be the biggest challenge for us. As I said, 3 subcontinent tours that we have to go to. So the people who rank 3, we've got to play them as well in Sri Lanka. You've got India, you've got Pakistan there. And then the key two is we've got to play England and Australia. So there's a couple of people said, oh, we didn't play these teams before we made the final and what. Well, we've got to play them at home. 3-match series against both of them. But the subcontinent trip was probably going to be the biggest challenge. So the fact that we drew the series in Pakistan, the worst we can do is draw the series here, is a great start to the defense of the World Test Championship.
Well, there we go. South Africa on strong footing. Yes, they might have a tough cycle for them to reach the finals of the WTC yet again. But what they've done themselves is a massive favor by beating India at Kolkata in the first test. This is how it happened. 159 after choosing to bat first, they got in the first innings. In reply, 189, 30-run lead. They could have gotten more, but they didn't end up getting, maybe because of Shubman Gill's injury. We can keep finding reasons why they didn't do it. Second innings, it was all about one man. Temba Bavuma showed what it took to be a leader, and he set India a target of 124. In the second innings, it was again a Simon Harmer show. South Africa win by 30 runs and take the lead in the series 1-0, with plenty to ponder about for Team India heading into Guwahati. Polly, you got a couple of extra days off.
All I want to say is enjoy a few days at home. 1-0 up in the series. See you in Guwahati.